Hello everyone, it's Pastor Sarah. Happy Easter! So excited to be able to celebrate Easter with you. I know that like me, it's my house, that you're probably in your house as well. And this is a different kind of Easter for all of us. So I thought it would be fun if we could take a field trip together. Well, I know we can't actually go anywhere, but I thought it would be fun to maybe take like a virtual field trip because I have this really cool book. I'll show you the cover of it called Where Jesus Walked. And it has all kinds of pictures of all the actual places in Jerusalem where Jesus went when he was born, when he was growing up, when he was doing ministry, when he died, when he came back to life. It's just full of pictures. And so I thought we could take a little journey together and you could see some pictures of actual places where Jesus went. And so we've just finished Holy Week with Easter today. So we started a week ago with Palm Sunday, the triumphal entry, and all the things that happened during the week leading up to Jesus' arrest and his death, and then eventually his resurrection that we're celebrating today. So let's look at some pictures. Let's go on a trip. You'll have to use your imagination with me. So here we go. Here's the first picture. I've got my daughter Emma doing a little videography for me, so she's going to show you the pictures in the book while I talk about them. This picture is a picture of the road into Jerusalem. So Jesus and his disciples, after they traveled for a really long time on their way to Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover, would have come walking right up that road on their way into the city. So that's an actual road that you could walk on if you were able to go to Jerusalem. And then this is a big picture, I don't know if you can get the whole thing, of the Kidron Valley in Jerusalem. And scholars tell us that Jesus would have crossed this valley on his way into the location where they had the Last Supper, the building that they had the Last Supper in, and then back through the valley to get to the Garden of Gethsemane, where he and his disciples went to pray, and he was ultimately arrested. So that's a big space, and that's a long walk. Maybe some of you have been on some long walks these past days, but Jesus and his disciples certainly spent a lot of time walking. And then this picture is a little bit modernized, you can tell, because it looks like a newer building, but this is a renovation of the actual room that they believe that Jesus and his disciples had their Last Supper. Now, if you remember the Last Supper, that meal that they had together, they were getting together to celebrate the Passover. And the Passover is a Jewish holiday, actually. And let's remember the story of the Passover a little bit, because that's what Jesus and his disciples would have been doing together. So that's the story of Moses and all the Israelites and how God used Moses to bring the Israelites out of Egypt. And you could talk about it as a family at home and just remember there were 10 different plagues, all 10 of them. It was the 10th plague, the very last one, that changed Pharaoh's mind. Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, changed his mind, and he gave permission finally for Moses and the Israelites to leave Egypt. And that very last plague was called the Passover of the angel of death, which passed over the houses of the Israelites, but it went into the houses of the Egyptians. And it was a sad, sad night for them, but it ushered in some victory for God's people, the Israelites, and they were able to leave. So it's that very event every year that Jewish people celebrate the Passover. Jesus and his disciples were gathering in this upper room to celebrate the Passover as well. And Jewish people, even today, in fact, we're right in the middle of the Passover week. They are celebrating Passover as well. Now, next in this book, there's a picture of some traditional food that people would have eaten just as a meal, not necessarily the Passover meal. Passover meal would look a little bit different than this, but there's some flatbread and some fresh vegetables. Actually, it looks really yummy to me. I hope you think it looks delicious too. It gives you an idea of some typical food. And then after they ate, they went out to a garden that they had been to before. This is the Garden of Gethsemane. This is an actual place in Jerusalem. Again, if you ever get a chance to go, you can walk right into this garden, right along the paths, right beside these trees, just like Jesus and his disciples did. And it was in this garden that Jesus began to pray. He asked his disciples to pray with him. They fell asleep. He had to wake them up. They fell asleep. He had to wake them up. And he finally just ended up praying on his own. And it's while he was in this garden that Judas came with the Roman soldiers and handed Jesus over to them. He betrayed Jesus to the soldiers. And then from there, the soldiers brought Jesus into trial. And he went to sort of three different places. the home of Caiaphas, who was the high priest. From Caiaphas's house, he went to see Pilate, the governor of Rome. From Pilate, he went to visit with Herod, who was the ruler actually over Pilate even. Herod sent him back to Pilate. So he kind of moves around quite a bit on Thursday night and Friday during the day as he's on trial. Actually, not very much of the day on Friday. It would have been early Friday morning as they're trying to decide what to do with Jesus. And so I'm going to show you, to get to the page, I'm going to turn the book for Emma so it's easier. This is a picture of some steps that lead up to, you can see this stone structure at the top, and that is Caiaphas's home. It's the home of the high priest. So Jesus would have walked up these actual steps right up to the home of Caiaphas as part of his trial to decide what they would do with him. And of course, we know that their decision was that he would be turned over to the religious leaders and later crucified. And here's a picture of a jail cell that they believe that Jesus was held in during his trial. You can go to these places and actually visit them. And then, this is kind of weird, but when we talk about the place where Jesus died, it's called Calvary or Golgotha. And we typically think of sort of a deserty hill with the crosses standing tall on it. And now, because it's a spot that was so important and a place that people really wanted to protect, they built a building around it. They built a church really around it. It would be like if you took your favorite place outside that you never wanted to have disappear and you just build a building around it to protect it. That's exactly what they did to Calvary or to Golgotha. So you can't actually go up on this big open hill like we often see if you see a movie version or even a cartoon version. This space now has a church or a building built around it, and it's called the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Sepulchre is just a fancy word for tomb, where somebody would be buried. So I wanted to show you some of the places that are protected by this building. So this piece of road here would have been where Jesus picked up his cross and began his journey up to Calvary. And so this is actual city street, but you can see how the building is built around it now to protect it and keep it safe for years to come. And then there are a couple pictures here. I'm going to have Emma show you some pictures of city streets that Jesus would have walked through back in those days. There's another one over here. They would have been crowded with people. They wouldn't have had these cute little shops like this one, but would have walked past all these crowds who would gather to see what was going on. And of course, Jesus was carrying his cross. He was tired. He was hurting because he'd been beaten by the soldiers. He fell down a number of times, and there are people who helped him. Do you remember the name of the man who got to help carry Jesus' cross? I'll give you a second to see if you think of it. It starts with the letter S. Did you come up with it? Yeah, his name is Simon. So Simon helped carry Jesus' cross right up to Calvary where he was crucified. And this picture is a little tricky to see, I think, on the camera, but I'll try to give you some help with my fingers here. So I don't know if you can see over in this part, there's, it looks like some rock in a case, and same on the other side, another piece of rock on the case. That's the actual exposed hillside of Calvary, because remember I told you they built a building on top of it, but they allowed some of the rock to poke through and they put some glass around to protect it so that you can actually see what that terrain looked like. And that's the spot where it is believed that Jesus' cross was placed along with the crosses of the two thieves who were crucified with him. And then he was buried, and you can see in this picture, this mosaic on the floor, underneath there is where they believe that Jesus' tomb actually was. And there's some people who hold that belief, and then there are other people who think this is actually the place where Jesus was buried. This is the Garden Tomb in Jerusalem, again, a place that you can go to and visit, and you can see this hole in the wall right here is right where they think that Jesus was buried. So it might be under the floor of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, or it could be in this garden tomb, and maybe nobody will ever know for sure. But something fun about if you walk up to that garden tomb, I gotta find the picture of the door. There's a door there, and somebody made a sign that said, "He's not here, for he has risen." And that's what we're celebrating on this Easter Sunday. And then right over here is a close-up of the inside of the tomb. You can see that picture. And it looks like a bench right here, carved out of stone that Jesus' body would have laid on. So those are some real pictures of places where Jesus would have walked. I wanted to show you a big picture of the city of Jerusalem so you could see that. So this is the last picture I'll show you in the storybook. It's a picture at sunrise, so just as the sun is coming up. Isn't it beautiful? I don't know about you, but it makes me want to go there. And maybe you feel like we've sort of been on a trip together today. I'm not sure, but at any rate, those are real places. And it was important for me to share that with you because the death and the resurrection, which just means coming back to life of Jesus, is very real. It is the reason that we celebrate Easter. It is the reason that we do everything that we do at church. It's the reason why we tell other people about Jesus, because we know we don't live perfect lives. We make mistakes all the time, and we need some help. And Jesus is that help. And because he died on the cross, he offered a payment for something we couldn't afford ourselves. We couldn't get ourselves out of our own sin, but Jesus can. And so when we say we love him, we believe that he's the Son of God, that he died for us and came back to life for us, and we say, Jesus, I want you to be a part of my life, then we accept that gift that he's given us. And that means we get to live forever. Maybe not forever on earth, but whenever our life is done here, we'll have a place with Jesus in heaven forever. And that's really good news. So happy Easter to all of you. I hope that you enjoyed today. I hope that you can find some fun things to do today. I've heard that it's going to snow. So maybe you'll even get to enjoy some snow today, which is a little bit weird. But hey, it's Minnesota. So we miss all of you. We hope you're doing well, and we hope that we'll be able to come back together again sometime soon. But for now, goodbye.